Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Mr. Darknight family. Tonight, we're not staying home. We're hitting the road in the dead of October. Imagine this. The highway stretches endlessly ahead, swallowed by fog. The radio crackles between static and whispers you can't quite make out. And somewhere beyond your headlights, something moves. They say October is when the veil between worlds grows thin, when travelers vanish without a trace, and some roads remember the screams of those who drove them. Tonight, we'll explore 7 true road trip encounters, stories of lost hikers, phantom headlights, and voices that call your name when you're completely alone. One man swears he saw a child standing in the middle of the road at 3 a.m., barefoot, shivering, smiling. Was it real? Or something else wearing a face? Buckle up, turn off your lights, and let's begin the journey. Welcome to Mr. Darknight. My name is Ethan Carter, and this happened 5 years ago. A night I'll never forget. I was driving along Route 190, a long stretch of highway between Nevada and California. It was late October, and the desert was colder than I expected. My car heater barely worked, and the air outside felt like it was breathing frost. I was heading home from a failed camping trip with some friends who had left earlier. I took the long way back, stupidly, hoping to see the night sky away from the city lights. But by the time I hit mile marker 83, the sky was just a thick blanket of gray. No stars, no moon. Then, out of nowhere, I saw her. A girl, maybe 17, standing by the roadside. Long black hair, pale skin, and a white dress that didn't fit the cold. She wasn't hitchhiking. She was just staring at my car as it slowed. And when my headlights hit her face, she smiled. I stopped. I don't even know why. Maybe guilt, maybe instinct. The girl didn't move, but when I rolled down my window, she stepped closer. Her voice was soft, trembling. "Can you take me to Ridgeway?" There was no town called Ridgeway anywhere near Route 190. Not for at least 50 miles. Still, something in her tone made it impossible to say no. I unlocked the door. She climbed in without another word. The moment she sat down, the air turned icy. My breath fogged up, even with the heater on full blast. I glanced at her. Her eyes were fixed straight ahead, unblinking. We drove in silence for about 10 minutes before she spoke again. "Do you know what happened here?" she whispered. I frowned. "What do you mean?" She smiled faintly, not looking at me. "They never found my body." My fingers tightened on the steering wheel. "What do you mean, they never found?" She interrupted me, almost whispering to herself. "They said I ran away, that I just left home one night. But I didn't." Her tone was hollow, like someone reading a confession they'd already given up on. I was right here, walking to Ridgeway. I just wanted to see my friend. But a man in a truck stopped. He said he'd drive me. He lied. She turned toward me then, her face illuminated by the dashboard glow. Her eyes were empty, not lifeless, just drained. "I still walk here," she said softly. "Every October." A cold dread settled over me. My hands began to shake, and I noticed my GPS screen was blank. No signal. The road behind me had vanished into darkness. I asked quietly, "What's your name?" She smiled again. "You already know it." The name hit me before I could ask again. Lydia Marsh. I'd seen her face before, on a missing person flyer taped to a gas station door years ago. Same black hair, same white dress. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. "Lydia," I whispered. "You disappeared near here, didn't you?" She didn't answer. She just looked out the window, the reflection of her face stretched thin by the glass. That's when I noticed something strange. The temperature gauge on my dashboard was flickering wildly. Then the car lights dimmed. For a moment, everything went black. When the headlights came back on, the girl was gone. The passenger seat was empty, door still closed. I slammed the brakes, my heart pounding. I looked around, nothing but sand and night. And then, a faint voice behind me. "Don't stop here." I froze. That whisper hadn't come from inside the car. It came from the back seat. Slowly, I turned my head. The back seat was empty. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam shook in my trembling hand as I scanned the dark interior. Nothing. But the whisper came again, louder this time. "Drive." I didn't argue. I slammed the gas and took off, tires kicking sand. My heart raced, pulse pounding in my ears. The road stretched on endlessly, and yet the mile markers started repeating. 83, 84, 83 again. It was like I was looping the same stretch of highway. My phone vibrated. A text notification popped up from an unknown number. Just 3 words. "Don't look back." A flicker of red light appeared in my rearview mirror. Headlights. A large truck was following me. Silent, no engine sound, no license plate visible. Its lights grew brighter, closer, blinding. I pressed harder on the gas, heart thundering. The truck matched my speed exactly, never overtaking, never falling back. Then I noticed the cab was empty. No driver. The truck honked once, a long, distorted blare that echoed through the desert. My mirrors rattled. I swerved, nearly hitting a road sign that shouldn't have been there. "Welcome to Ridgeway." When I looked back again, the truck was gone. Only dust remained in the headlights behind me. But sitting in the passenger seat once more was Lydia. "Stop here," she whispered. I didn't want to. But something, maybe her tone, maybe the way the air thickened, forced my foot down on the brake. Before us stood a small town sign, Ridgeway, population 12. Except there was no town, just the decayed shells of old wooden houses, half buried in sand. Lydia opened the door and stepped out. I shouted after her, but she didn't turn around. She walked slowly toward what looked like an old gas station, long abandoned. For a moment, I thought I saw figures, shadowy outlines of people, standing in doorways, watching her. Then, one by one, they turned their heads toward me and smiled. I blinked, and they were gone. Only Lydia remained, standing beside the pump. "Thank you," she whispered. "Now they'll know." I got out, trembling. "Lydia, what do you mean?" She turned to me. Her eyes glowed faintly now, almost silver. "They buried me here," she said quietly, "by the pump." Beneath the old sign, the ground beneath us trembled. The sand shifted. I stumbled back as a gust of freezing air blew through the ghost town, carrying whispers, hundreds of them. I saw them. The outlines of the 12 townsfolk, half transparent, walking toward her. She smiled as they surrounded her, whispering her name like a prayer. Then she turned back to me, voice soft but clear. "You shouldn't have come here." "He follows those who stop who?" I asked, shaking. She pointed past me. Behind me, the truck's headlights roared back to life. I ran to my car and slammed the door just as the truck's horn bellowed again. It tore down the dirt road, headlights blinding, engine roaring like thunder. I hit the gas, tires spinning on sand. The truck followed, faster than anything that big should move. I could feel its vibration through the steering wheel. Lydia's voice echoed faintly inside the car. "Don't stop until the road ends." But the road never ended. Every turn led back to the same stretch, the same ghost town sign, the same blinking mile marker. 83. The truck grew closer, horn blaring, until it was right behind me. I could see its grille inches from my rear bumper. Then, a flash of light. The world turned white, and silence. When I woke up, it was morning. The sun was rising over the desert. My car sat parked neatly beside Route 190. No damage, no truck, no footprints. I stumbled out, dizzy, heart pounding. In the distance, a highway patrol car slowed beside me. The officer rolled down his window. "You okay, son?" he asked. I nodded weakly. He frowned. Strange place to stop. Nobody's lived in Ridgeway since the 80s. Old ghost town, burned down after a trucker killed a girl here. Lydia Marsh, I think her name was. My blood ran cold. He tipped his hat and drove off. When I got back in my car, something lay on the passenger seat. A small silver locket, still cold to the touch. Inside was a photo of Lydia, smiling. And below it, scratched faintly into the metal, "Thank you for the ride." My name is Angela Ruiz, and this happened 3 Octobers ago when I was driving from Colorado to Arizona. It was supposed to be a simple, overnight trip. 8 hours of music, gas stops, and quiet desert roads. But around midnight, my GPS rerouted me because of road maintenance ahead. I didn't think much of it. The detour led me onto a narrow, unmarked highway, barely visible under the moonlight. The air was dry, the road empty, and my fuel gauge dropped faster than I expected. When the low fuel light blinked, I saw a flickering neon sign in the distance. Miller's Rest Motel. It looked like something out of a 1950s postcard. One long building, peeling paint, half the letters on the sign dead. I pulled in, relieved, but uneasy. There were no other cars in the lot, only mine, and a single red pickup parked crooked near the office door. The curtain in the office twitched as I stepped out. The bell above the office door jingled as I entered. Inside smelled of dust and old cigarettes. Behind the counter stood a tall, thin man in a stained undershirt, gray hair slicked back. "Need a room?" he asked, smiling too wide. His eyes were pale, almost colorless. I nodded, handing over my card. He slid a metal key toward me, not a card, a key. "Room number 7. Stay inside after midnight," he said. "The desert plays tricks on you." I laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. He didn't laugh back. When I got to my room, I noticed something strange. The red pickup outside had moved. It was now parked directly in front of my door. The curtains in the next room shifted slightly, as if someone was watching me. And on my nightstand, even though I'd just arrived, sat an old rotary phone, already off the hook. A faint whisper came through it. "Don't trust him." I hung up the phone, my hand shaking. The whisper had sounded like a woman's voice, soft, trembling, urgent. I checked the door. It was locked. The heater groaned as it kicked on, blowing cold air instead of warm. I sat on the bed, trying to calm down. The sheets smelled faintly of gasoline. I opened the window slightly to breathe, but immediately froze. There was someone standing outside the motel courtyard. A woman, barefoot, wearing a tattered nightgown. Her skin looked gray, almost ashen in the moonlight. She lifted a trembling hand and pointed at my room. Then she mouthed something I couldn't hear. Behind her, in the dark parking lot, I saw the red pickup's headlights flick on. The engine rumbled to life, and the woman vanished. I bolted the doors shut and closed the blinds. My chest tightened with every sound outside: the creak of metal, the hum of the neon sign, the faint hiss of wind. Then came a knock. 3 slow taps. I didn't answer. Another knock. Louder. Finally, I heard a piece of paper slide under the door. I hesitated, then picked it up. Written in shaky handwriting were the words, "If you see the truck again, don't run." My heart pounded. I peeked through the blinds. The truck was gone. Only the faint light of the sign remained. I thought about leaving, but the fuel gauge in my car was nearly empty. I had no choice but to stay till morning. I turned on the TV for noise. Static then, just for a second. The screen showed a motel parking lot view, black and white, and a red pickup slowly rolling past. Room 7. But the TV wasn't plugged in. The clock struck 12. The motel went silent. No wind, no hum, nothing. Then I heard the phone again, the rotary dial slowly turning on its own. I picked up. Static hissed. Then the same female voice whispered, "He's coming." Before I could respond, a heavy thud shook the wall behind me. Another thud, closer. It sounded like someone banging from inside the next room. I crept to the adjoining door and pressed my ear against it. Faint breathing. Then, a man's voice. "Open up, darling." "You left the light on?" I stepped back, trembling. The voice was the same as the motel owner's. I grabbed my phone, no signal. When I looked again, the door handle on the other side began to turn. Slowly, the handle rattled violently, then stopped. I searched for something to block the door, dragged the nightstand in front of it, the TV too. My heart thumped so loud it drowned everything else. Then I noticed something behind the dresser, a thin outline in the wallpaper, like a hidden panel. Curiosity got the best of me. I peeled the wallpaper back. It was a door. No knob, just hinges, painted over long ago. And from behind it came a faint tapping. I leaned closer. The tapping matched the sound of my heartbeat. Then a whisper. "Please, let me out." The voice was a woman's, the same one from the phone. Before I could react, something crashed through the adjoining door. A pale hand reached through the gap, long fingernails scraping the frame. I screamed, and the hidden panel burst open. A woman fell out from the hidden space, her skin gray, eyes wide, gasping for air like she hadn't breathed in years. She wore a motel uniform, the tag half torn. S. Miller. "The owner," she whispered. He buries them in the walls." Her hands trembled as she grabbed my wrist. "You need to go." "He feeds the road." I pulled her toward the door, but before we reached it, the lights went out. Complete darkness. Then the growl of an engine outside. The red pickup's headlights bled through the curtains, glowing brighter, flooding the room in crimson light. The woman's eyes widened in terror. "He's here." The floor began to shake. From outside came the sound of footsteps, heavy, dragging, slow. And then, a knock. But this time, it came from the window. The curtains fluttered, and through the gap, I saw him, the motel owner. His face was pale, like wax, and his eyes reflected the red light. He smiled, pressing a finger to his lips. Then he whispered through the glass, "You shouldn't have opened the wall." The glass cracked. I pulled the woman away, grabbed my car keys, and bolted for the door. The hallway lights flickered violently as we ran. Every room we passed had the same thing. Doors nailed shut, muffled voices crying from inside. The owner followed, walking slowly, dragging something metallic on the floor. It clanged with each step. We reached the exit, but when I turned, the woman was gone. Only her motel tag lay on the floor. The door slammed behind me, and I was outside, alone. I sprinted to my car, fumbling with the keys. The engine sputtered before roaring to life. As I sped out of the lot, I glanced in the mirror. The motel lights flickered wildly, and then the entire building vanished into darkness. The road stretched on endlessly. No turns, no intersections. My GPS still read, recalculating. After 10 minutes of driving, I saw headlights behind me. The red pickup, chasing fast. My heart pounded as it grew closer, the engine howling unnaturally. Then, just as it was about to ram me, it disappeared. Gone. The road ahead opened into dawn. The desert glowed gold. My fuel gauge blinked empty, but somehow I reached a highway sign. Welcome to Ridgeway. I'd been driving in circles, the same cursed stretch as Lydia's road. Later, at a diner off Route 190, I told a state trooper what happened. He looked pale as I mentioned the motel. Miller's Rest? He repeated. That place burned down in 1986. The owner killed 6 travelers before torching it. He slid a photo across the counter. My stomach dropped. It was the same man who'd given me the key. When I got back to my car, I noticed something strange. The key to room 7 still sat on my passenger seat, the tag blackened by fire. Etched faintly into the metal was a new word, R-U-N. That night, as I drove out of town, a red pickup passed me on the other side of the road. The driver smiled, and in my rearview mirror, the Miller's Rest sign flickered once more, glowing like it never died. My name is Evan Turner, and this happened in October 2017, during what was supposed to be a peaceful solo road trip through the mountains of West Virginia. I was heading back home from a photography trip, my car loaded with gear and memory cards, full of fog-drenched forests and abandoned gas stations. It was past midnight when I took Route 19, a narrow, 2-lane stretch known for its sharp turns and almost no signal. The night was unnaturally quiet. Even my radio was nothing but static. I remember glancing at the clock, 12:47 a.m., just before I saw it. Up ahead, maybe 100 feet away, a black sedan appeared out of nowhere. Its taillights flickered dimly, like dying embers in the dark. I thought maybe it had broken down. But then, it began to move, slowly. Too slowly. I tried to overtake it, flashing my headlights, but the car didn't react. No driver silhouette, no plate, nothing. I honked once, then twice. The car vanished, just blinked out of existence. For the next few seconds, all I could hear was my heartbeat, and a whisper from my radio that sounded like, "You shouldn't be here." I slammed on the brakes, tires screeching across the wet asphalt. My car came to a stop in the middle of the empty highway, my hands trembling around the steering wheel. The road ahead was empty. No car, no light, not even the faintest sound of an engine. I stepped out, flashlight in hand, expecting maybe an accident or a cliffside drop-off. But there was nothing. Just mist rolling across the asphalt and the faint hum of insects. My flashlight flickered, then went out completely. I banged it against my palm until it turned back on, only to find fresh tire marks, stopping abruptly a few feet away, like the car had evaporated. I turned to head back to my car, but something caught my attention in the distance. A faint glimmer of red light deep in the woods, pulsing slowly. I thought it might be the car's taillight, so I started walking toward it. Every step I took seemed to sink into the earth, and the fog thickened, muffling every sound except my own heartbeat. The red light blinked once more, and then turned white. As I moved closer, The glow faded until I couldn't tell if it was still there or just my eyes playing tricks on me. The air grew colder, unnaturally so, and I noticed something strange. The woods were silent. No crickets, no wind. That's when I heard it. A car door slamming. It came from somewhere behind me, back toward the highway. I spun around, shining my light, but my car was still there, engine off. The noise came again, followed by the faint creak of tires rolling on gravel. I ran back, calling out, "Hello? Anyone there?" But when I reached the road, there was a different car sitting right behind mine. A black sedan, the same one. Its taillights glowed softly, as if mocking me. I stepped closer, trying to see inside. The windows were pitch black, no reflection, no driver. When I got within 5 feet, the car's engine roared to life. Then it started moving backward, into the woods. I froze. The car moved slowly backward into the tree line, vanishing deeper into the forest until only its faint lights were visible. I wanted to follow, but something deep in my gut screamed not to. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. 1 bar of signal. A text popped up from a blocked number. It read, "Don't follow it." My heart dropped. I looked around, no sign of anyone. When I finally returned to my car, I realized the tire marks from the sedan were gone, like the road had wiped itself clean. I jumped in, locked the doors, and started the engine. The radio immediately turned on, whispering static between words, like fragments of a conversation. "He's watching. The road. Don't stop again." I turned the dial off, trembling. I drove for about 10 minutes before I saw headlights appear again in my rearview mirror, the same dim, red glow headlights. They were following me. At first, I tried to convince myself it was another car. Maybe someone else traveling late. But it never changed lanes, never got closer or further away. It just stayed exactly the same distance behind me. Then my engine sputtered. Once, twice. Then the car began to slow down on its own. My foot pressed the gas pedal, but nothing. The headlights behind me brightened, like whoever or whatever was there knew I was losing control. My car rolled to a stop. The engine died. I sat there in complete silence, too afraid to look in the mirror. Then a knock came from the driver's window. Slow, heavy. I turned, expecting to see a face. But there was only a handprint on the glass, smeared with mud, and something dark that looked like blood. The knocking continued, this time from the passenger side. I shouted, "Who's there?" but got no response, just the sound of something dragging along the side of my car. I looked at the window again, and the handprints were gone, completely vanished. I turned the key again and again, and on the 4th try, the engine finally roared back to life. I slammed the gas pedal, my tires screeching as I sped forward through the fog. The car behind me didn't move this time. It just sat there, headlights dimming like dying eyes. A few miles later, I saw a sign ahead. Route 19 rest stop, 2 miles. Relief flooded me. Maybe someone would be there. When I pulled in, the lot was empty except for a single street light flickering near the restrooms. I stepped out, still shaking, and noticed a torn license plate on the ground. Black sedan. The plate was rusted, like it had been there for decades. As I bent down to pick it up, I heard faint humming from the restroom building. It sounded like a radio playing from inside. The door creaked open slowly. Against every instinct, I looked inside. The room was empty. No lights, no movement. Only a dusty old radio on the counter, playing the same static-filled whisper I'd heard before. "You shouldn't have followed him." I stumbled back, dropping the license plate. When it hit the ground, I saw something scratched on the back, My name. I stared at it, my skin cold as ice. How the hell was my name there? The radio grew louder. Then I heard tires screeching outside. I ran back out, only to see the black sedan parked beside my car again. Its headlights turned off one by one. Until it was completely dark, I froze. I didn't know whether to run or hide. My phone buzzed again, another message from the blocked number. Get back in your car. Don't look at it. Drive, I obeyed. Heart pounding, I jumped into my car and hit the gas. As I drove away, the radio turned on by itself again, whispering, "Too late." A flash of red light filled my rearview mirror. I glanced back, and the sedan was gone again. For the next 20 miles, I drove like a maniac until I reached a small 24-hour diner by the state line. The moment I stepped inside, I felt safe for the first time that night. But when I sat at the counter, the waitress froze as she looked out the window. "Sir, did you know your car lights are still on?" I turned to look outside and saw the sedan's reflection beside mine. I rushed outside. My car sat there, engine off, lights normal. No sign of another vehicle. I walked around it twice, nothing. But when I looked down, there were 2 sets of wet footprints leading toward the driver's side door. One set matched my boots, the other, bare feet. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed at a motel across the street, parking far from my room. But even from the window, I could swear I saw those red tail lights glowing faintly in the parking lot. When I finally checked out in the morning, the motel clerk asked where I'd driven from. I told him Route 19. He paused, his face pale. "Route 19's been closed for years," he said quietly. Ever since the accident, I didn't believe him until I looked it up myself. Route 19 had been officially closed since 2001 after a fatal collision that killed a couple in a black sedan. No survivors. Locals said people still saw the car at night, sometimes following travelers who didn't belong. I never drove that route again. But sometimes, even now, my car radio crackles for no reason, whispering faint words through the static. Once, when it happened last October, I thought I heard a voice that said, "You saw him too." And when I checked my rearview mirror, I swear I saw red taillights disappear into the fog. My name is Rachel Morgan, and I've never told this story to anyone, not even my husband. It happened in October 2019, on a road trip through northern Arizona. I was driving from Flagstaff to Sedona after visiting my sister, and the sun had already dipped below the desert horizon. The sky was bruised with orange and purple, and the GPS suddenly froze mid-route. "No signal," it said. The next moment, the map rerouted itself, displaying a new path labeled Alternate Route, 19 miles shorter. I didn't think twice. I was tired. The road was empty, and I just wanted to reach my hotel before midnight. But as I followed that detour, the highway grew narrower, twisting through canyons that didn't appear on any map. My headlights barely touched the jagged rock faces that loomed on either side. The air felt heavy, almost charged, and I realized something strange. No other cars had passed me for nearly an hour. Then, at exactly 11:16 p.m., I saw the neon sign flickering through the darkness. Mile marker motel, vacancy. The motel sat alone in the desert, its cracked asphalt lot filled with dust and tumbleweeds. The flickering neon sign buzzed like an insect trapped in glass. I parked beside the office door, the light above it strobing faintly. Inside, a small bell sat on the counter beside a dusty ledger book. The air smelled of old cigarettes and mildew. After a moment, an old man shuffled out from behind a curtain. His skin looked pale and thin as parchment. His voice cracked like static. "Traveling alone?" he asked. "Just passing through," I said. "Do you have a room?" He smiled faintly, showing yellow teeth. "Only one left." "Room 6, he handed me a tarnished brass key. No electronic card, just a key with a tag burned by age. As I turned to leave, he added softly, "If you hear knocking tonight, don't open the door." I froze, my fingers tightening on the key. Why would someone knock? He just smiled. "You'll see." Room 6 was at the far end of the row. Its door creaked open, as if resisting. Inside, the air was stale, heavy with the scent of mold and something faintly metallic. The lamp flickered when I turned it on, revealing faded floral wallpaper and a dusty mirror. I set my bag down and sat on the bed, exhausted. The mattress sagged like it hadn't been used in decades. I tried turning on the TV, but all it showed was static, just endless snow and faint whispers buried beneath the white noise. I unplugged it, uneasy. At 12:03 a.m., someone knocked on my door. 3 slow, heavy knocks. I froze, remembering the old man's warning. Another knock, louder this time. I whispered, "Hello?" No answer. Then I heard footsteps walking away. Uneven, dragging, fading into the night. Relieved, I peered through the curtain. The parking lot was empty. But when I turned back toward the door, I noticed something that hadn't been there before. A wet footprint on the carpet, leading from the door to the bed. I grabbed my phone to take a picture, but the screen stayed black. Dead battery. That's when I noticed the mirror on the wall. For some reason, the reflection didn't match the room's lighting. My reflection looked darker. The lamp beside the bed flickered behind me, but in the mirror, it was off. Then, something moved in the reflection. Behind me. I spun around. Nothing there. Just silence. But when I looked back at the mirror, a woman stood in the reflection, facing the door. Her long hair clung to her shoulders, dripping wet. Her hand slowly lifted. Knock, knock, knock. This time, the sound came from the mirror itself. The light burst and the room went black. I scrambled for the doorknob, stumbling into the night air. The hallway was dimly lit by a buzzing fluorescent light that flickered in and out. I glanced around. No one there. All the other room doors were shut tight. But when I turned toward the office, the neon sign outside had changed. It no longer said mile marker motel. It now read, "No vacancy, leave." I ran to the lobby, but the counter was empty. The ledger was gone. The bell was rusted over, and cobwebs covered the shelves like no one had been there for years. I shouted, "Hello? Anyone?" Silence. Then I heard a door creak open down the hall. A woman's voice whispered faintly, "Help me." I turned toward the sound and saw room 6 open again. The lights inside were all on, and the woman from the mirror stood there, dripping water onto the carpet. Before I could move, a loud crack of thunder split the air. Rain began hammering down outside, though moments ago the desert sky had been clear. The woman stepped closer, and the temperature dropped so fast that my breath fogged. She whispered, "He did this to me." I stumbled backward. "Who?" Her eyes lifted, black and empty. "The man in the office." Lightning flashed, and for a second, I saw her face clearly. Her skin was gray and swollen, veins pulsing beneath like rivers of ink. Her mouth opened in a silent scream as water poured from it, flooding the carpet. I bolted for my car, but the rain had turned the parking lot into a mirror of black water. The neon sign sparked violently, before going out completely. Behind me, I heard every motel door slam shut, except one. Room 6. I managed to reach the car, fumbling with my keys as lightning illuminated the sky. Just as I started the engine, I saw something move in the rearview mirror. The old man, standing in the middle of the parking lot, staring directly at me. His clothes were soaked, his face expressionless. I rolled down the window slightly, shouting, "What is this place?" He tilted his head, voice hollow. "You shouldn't have checked in." Then he was gone, just vanished. I looked back at the motel, now dark and silent except for room 6, glowing faintly red. Something inside me snapped. I grabbed my phone, now miraculously powered on, and called 911. The dispatcher asked where I was, and I said, "Mile Marker Motel, off Route 232. There was silence for a moment. Then she said, "Ma'am, that motel burned down in 1987. No one's been there since." The rain stopped instantly. Steam rose from the asphalt. When I looked up again, the motel was on fire. Roaring flames consuming every wall, every window. But I couldn't feel any heat. The air was silent, like the flames made no sound. Through the flames, I saw figures, people standing in the windows. Shadows of guests, their faces twisted in agony, eyes glowing white. And then, behind them, the old man again, watching me burn in the reflection of my own windshield. I slammed my foot on the gas, tires spinning in mud, and tore away down the highway. The flames grew smaller in the mirror until finally they disappeared into the night. But the smell of smoke never left. Hours later, the sun began to rise. I finally saw a real gas station ahead, modern, bright, full of life. I pulled in, shaking, and ran inside. The cashier looked startled. "Miss, are you okay?" "You smell like smoke," I nodded weakly. "There was a fire, a motel, back near mile marker 232. He froze. "That place burned down years ago. People died there. Travelers still see it sometimes, though. They say it appears every October." I tried to laugh, but tears filled my eyes. I looked down and realized my shoes were soaked, not with rain, but with muddy water, the same as the footprint in room 6. I quit photography not long after that. Every October since, I've had the same dream. I'm back in room 6, the lamp flickering, the air damp and cold. The woman stands by the mirror, whispering, "Check out?" Last year, curiosity got the better of me. I drove that route again. But when I passed mile marker 232, there was nothing, just sand and rocks, until I looked in the rearview mirror. The neon sign was there again, glowing faintly behind me. Mile Marker Motel, vacancy. And this time, beneath it, a new word flickered in red light. "Welcome back, Rachel." My name is Daniel Ortiz, and this story happened to me in October 2018 during a solo road trip through the Blue Ridge Mountains. I was driving from Asheville, North Carolina, to a friend's cabin in Virginia, hoping to make it before midnight. My GPS rerouted me through a mountain pass I had never taken before. At first, it seemed like a shortcut, but the further I went, the narrower and darker the road became. Trees arched over the asphalt like skeletal fingers, blocking the moonlight. Fog rolled in thick and fast, clinging to the windshield and the edge of the cliffs. Up ahead, I saw the tunnel entrance. An old stone arch carved into the mountain, pitch black inside. No lights, no warning signs. But the GPS insisted, drive through to continue. The moment I entered, the temperature dropped. My breath condensed inside the car. Every sound echoed unnaturally. The tires squealing, the engine humming, even my heartbeat. Halfway through, I thought I saw a figure at the edge of my headlights. I slammed on the brakes. Nothing, just darkness. And then I heard it, a soft whisper, coming from deep inside the tunnel. Turn back. I tried to shake it off. It's just nerves, I muttered to myself. But the whisper came again, louder this time. My radio, which had been silent, crackled. Don't come any closer. I glanced in the rearview mirror. The reflection of the tunnel seemed wrong. The walls weren't solid. They appeared to move, like the stone itself was breathing. And then I saw him. A man in dark clothing, standing on the side of the tunnel. No headlights, no features visible, just a dark silhouette. I blinked. He was gone. But then I heard footsteps inside the tunnel, echoing behind me, matching my speed. Panic set in. I hit the gas. The car surged forward. The footsteps followed, getting louder, faster. After several minutes, I expected to see the end of the tunnel, but it never came. The same stone walls stretched endlessly. I checked my GPS, no signal. The road, which had seemed straight, now twisted in impossible angles. Then the headlights caught something horrifying. Carved into the walls were symbols, strange glyphs, some resembling faces screaming in agony. They glowed faintly in the dark, pulsing like a heartbeat. I tried to take a photo with my phone, but the camera wouldn't turn on. Every app froze. My heart raced. And then I saw it. Ahead, a light. I thought it was the exit. I sped toward it. But as I got closer, the walls closed in, bending the light, creating a tunnel that seemed alive. The exit vanished. I realized I was not alone. The air in the car grew heavier. I glanced in the rearview mirror and froze. A dark shadow sat in the back seat. No face, no features. Just a silhouette. But it mirrored my movements, smiling at me in a way I couldn't see. I screamed, slammed my foot on the brake. Nothing happened. The car accelerated on its own, diving deeper into the tunnel. I reached for the door handle, but the doors were locked. The windows wouldn't roll down. The whisper came again, right in my ear, though no one was there. You cannot leave. You belong here. I pounded the steering wheel, trying to regain control. But every curve of the tunnel was now unnatural, bending in ways physics shouldn't allow. As panic overtook me, I saw other vehicles, or what I thought were vehicles. They were stuck, crumpled, and abandoned, like frozen in time. Some had skeletal remains behind the wheel, eyes wide with terror. I tried to slow down to get a closer look, but the car wouldn't respond. It swerved violently on its own. I realized the tunnel wasn't just dark, it was feeding on fear. Every heartbeat, every breath made it grow tighter, colder. I screamed for help. My voice echoed back, but distorted, as if someone or something was mocking me. I slammed on the horn. Nothing. Then I saw red eyes staring at me from the walls, hundreds of them, glowing faintly like coals. The car veered again, as if guided by some invisible hand. My hands gripped the wheel, knuckles white, my mind racing. Then a deep, echoing voice filled the tunnel. Welcome, traveler. You cannot leave. It seemed to come from the walls themselves, vibrating the metal and stone around me. I tried shouting, demanding it stop, but the voice only laughed. A hollow, twisted sound that seemed to come from inside my skull. Panic overtook me. I slammed the brakes, but the car didn't respond. Then I noticed the dashboard. Every gauge and light was gone, replaced by cryptic symbols that shimmered faintly in red. I realized the voice wasn't just talking. It was controlling me, feeding off my fear. I clutched the steering wheel, trying to pray, to scream, to do anything. But every word caught in my throat. Then the headlights flickered, revealing the shadow from the back seat, grinning now, leaning closer. Its face mimicked mine. In a desperate attempt to escape, I checked the rearview mirror. The tunnel behind me didn't reflect reality. Instead, I saw dozens of cars, their drivers screaming silently, pressed against the mirrors as if trapped. The shadow in my back seat reached forward, and when I glanced up, the tunnel walls seemed to close in. Every curve, every crack, every glyph now twisted, forming faces twisted in eternal screams. I realized something horrifying. I wasn't driving through a tunnel, I was inside a living nightmare, and the tunnel fed on the fear of those who dared enter. The shadow whispered in a voice exactly like mine. "You can never leave." I slammed my eyes shut, praying, hoping the nightmare would end. Suddenly, a flash of light blinded me. The tunnel seemed to shrink away, replaced by darkness. When my eyes adjusted, I saw a faint exit, a dim white glow at the end of the tunnel. I floored the gas pedal. The car surged forward, heart pounding, terror screaming in every nerve. The shadow screamed too, a soundless mouth opening impossibly wide. The walls of the tunnel shook violently. Glyphs and faces melted, dripping like wax. I braced myself as the car hurled toward the light, the voice screaming in agony. "No one leaves alive." And then, silence. I woke on a straight, empty highway, the tunnel gone. My hands were soaked with sweat, heart hammering. My car was intact, dashboard normal, no shadow, no glowing glyphs. The GPS returned, rerouting me normally. I tried to process what had happened. Was it a hallucination? A glitch in my mind? Then I glanced at the rearview mirror. Faintly, in the darkness behind me, I saw the tunnel entrance glowing red, just for a moment, before vanishing completely. I drove the rest of the night without looking back, ignoring every instinct to glance over my shoulder. But the feeling stayed, that something had followed me out. Months later, I thought I had escaped. Life returned to normal. But every October, I hear the faint static of a radio, whispers at night, always the same. "You cannot leave." Last year, I passed the same mountain pass. No GPS glitch, no tunnel visible, just a regular road. But I swear, in the corner of my mirror, I saw red eyes glowing in the fog, watching, waiting. And I know that one day, I'll hear the voice again, pulling me back into the mountain tunnel. I never take that shortcut anymore. My name is Ethan Walker, and this nightmare started in October 2020. I was driving from Dallas to Oklahoma City, alone, hoping to make it in one straight shot. The highway stretched endlessly, surrounded by dark fields and skeletal trees. It was past midnight, and the radio had stopped working hours ago, leaving only the hum of the engine. Occasionally, my headlights would catch a road sign flickering or a set of empty farmhouses in the distance, but nothing else. Then I saw it. A black truck parked on the side of the interstate. Its hazard lights blinked rhythmically, casting eerie shadows across the asphalt. At first, I thought someone had broken down, but as I passed, I saw the driver. A man completely still, staring straight ahead, motionless. I sped up, heart racing. Moments later, the truck appeared in my rearview mirror, following me exactly at the same speed, though no turn or exit could explain it. A cold shiver ran down my spine. Something about that truck felt unnatural. like it was part of the night itself, watching me. I tried shaking it off as paranoia. But then, a figure appeared on the road ahead. I slammed the brakes, swerving violently. It was a woman, barefoot in a tattered white dress, standing perfectly still in the lane. I honked, flicked my high beams, and even swerved to avoid her. But every time I blinked, she was closer. Her face was pale, eyes black voids, and she whispered something I couldn't hear, though the sound echoed inside my head. The black truck reappeared in the rearview mirror just behind me. The engine was silent, but its presence pressed on my mind like a weight. I floored it. The woman vanished as suddenly as she appeared. I glanced back, only to see another figure at the shoulder. A man, hunched, dripping wet, staring. This night was far from over. Hours into the drive, fatigue began to set in. I turned on the radio for comfort. Every station was dead, except one, a faint signal playing old, distorted voices like static whispers. Turn, back, never leave. I froze. It wasn't static. It was speaking to me. I slammed off the radio, but the voice continued in my mind, repeating the same words. Ahead, I saw a rest stop, dimly lit, an oasis of sanity in this endless night. I pulled in, desperate to rest. But as I approached, the rest stop looked wrong. The lights flickered, the vending machines were rusted, and no cars were parked, despite the 24-hour sign. Something about this place felt trapped in time, like stepping into a parallel world. Inside the rest stop, I saw a man at the counter, tall, wearing a hooded coat. His face was obscured, shadowed, but his eyes seemed to glow faintly red. "Lost?" he asked in a hollow voice. I nodded. "Just passing through." He smiled unnaturally. "Not everyone makes it." "Not everyone leaves," I laughed nervously. But the air went cold. A door creaked open behind him, revealing a long hallway that hadn't been there moments ago. From it, I heard footsteps approaching, though no one was visible. I tried leaving, but the front door wouldn't open. The man's shadow stretched unnaturally across the floor, licking the walls. Panic clawed at my chest. Something was keeping me here. But I didn't know how or why. Against my better judgment, curiosity forced me to step into the hallway. It stretched far longer than any building should allow. The fluorescent lights flickered, casting sharp, jagged shadows that moved independently of any object. Then I heard voices. Hundreds of them, whispering, screaming, pleading. The air grew heavy, almost solid. Each step I took felt like wading through molasses, as if the building itself resisted my movement. At the end of the hallway, a door opened by itself. Inside, a wall of mirrors, each reflecting a different version of me. Some smiling, some screaming, some faceless. I backed away in horror. But in the reflection of one mirror, I saw the black truck waiting outside, its engine silent but watching. The hallway seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. I realized I wasn't alone. Something invisible was following me. I ran back toward my car, my hands shaking. As soon as I started the engine, the black truck appeared in the rearview mirror, impossibly close, despite the distance I had put between us. Its headlights were off, but I could feel its presence, like an icy hand gripping my spine. The highway stretched endlessly, the fog thickening with every mile. Shadows seemed to slither across the asphalt. Then, figures emerged from the roadside, men, women, children, pale, dripping, faces hollow, motionless. Each raised an arm as if pointing me toward the truck. I swerved violently to avoid them. Each time I passed, the figures vanished, replaced by new ones farther down the road. The voice returned in my mind. "You cannot leave. Not tonight." My heart pounded as the truck silently closed in. Every instinct screamed to stop, but I knew stopping meant death. Up ahead, a toll booth appeared, though there had been none on this stretch before. A pale attendant sat inside, face hidden in shadow. As I approached, the booth stretched unnaturally, its windows elongating like a mouth ready to swallow me. I tried to drive past, but the road ended abruptly at the booth. The attendant's voice echoed in my head. Pay the toll, or stay forever. I slammed on the brakes and jumped out. My legs were shaking, but the car doors locked automatically, trapping me inside. The black truck stopped beside my car, engine still silent. Then, a hand reached from the truck window, impossibly long and pale, stretching toward me. I turned and ran into the fog. I ran into an adjacent field, thick with tall grass. Shadows moved independently, forming silhouettes of people screaming silently. Every step forward felt like moving through quicksand, my energy draining, my mind screaming. Above, the stars vanished, leaving only an endless black sky. The truck remained at the edge of the fog, and the figures began marching toward me. I tripped, falling hard. When I looked up, the black truck had split in two, appearing on both sides of the field. It didn't drive, it floated, following me effortlessly. A whisper echoed from all directions. You belong to the road now. Suddenly, the field vanished. I was back on the highway, my car right where I left it. Tires spinning, engine roaring, but the road stretched endlessly ahead. The black truck vanished from view, but the whispers continued, faint and omnipresent. I sped forward, seeing every shadow from the rest stop, the tunnel, and the roadside appear along the road simultaneously. Their faces twisted, mouths moving in silent screams. Desperate, I remembered something I had read in a horror forum years ago. If you drive without looking back, you can sometimes escape. I gripped the wheel and focused on the headlights, refusing to glance behind. The whispers grew louder, but the truck never reappeared. Dawn finally broke, washing the highway in pale light. The shadows vanished. The field, the toll booth, and the black truck, all gone. I was alone. But when I looked at my rearview mirror, the reflection was wrong. My car was normal, but behind me, a faint silhouette of the truck lingered, just on the horizon, unmoving, watching. Even now, every October when I drive alone at night, I swear I see the black truck at the edge of my vision, following, waiting. And I know it's patient. Because it's eternal, feeding off fear, taking anyone who strays too far from safety. I never drive that route at night anymore. Not alone. Not ever. My name is Rebecca Lane, and this happened in October 2019 during a solo road trip from Denver to Salt Lake City. The night was cold, the sky heavy with clouds, and the highway stretched endlessly into darkness. I was exhausted, but determined to reach my destination. Mile markers flickered past, and the occasional passing truck felt more ominous than comforting. My radio was dead, and even the moon refused to shine. Suddenly, headlights appeared in the distance, not oncoming, but parallel, as if matching my speed. Then another set, and another. Soon, I realized I was surrounded by a convoy of trucks, moving in perfect formation, silent, their engines producing no sound. Panic set in. I slowed, trying to gauge what was happening. The trucks didn't overtake me, didn't signal. They simply matched my speed, lights glowing faintly red, like eyes staring into my soul. I tried accelerating. They accelerated too, surrounding me on all sides. And then I saw them. Figures in the driver's seats, faceless, or rather, completely black, like shadows inside the cabs. My heart raced as I searched for an exit. There were none. Every turnoff I passed either vanished or led to dead ends. The convoy kept pace, silent but relentless. I tried calling for help. My phone had no signal. Even 911 didn't connect. Sweat dripped down my face as I realized I was trapped on the highway, alone with the spectral convoy. Then, one truck swerved sharply in front of me. I slammed on the brakes, tires screeching. Its cab was empty. Or maybe the driver was inside me now. A whisper echoed in my mind. "You shouldn't be here." I screamed and floored the accelerator. The trucks didn't budge. They moved as one, blocking every path, as if the highway itself had become a trap. Suddenly, thick fog rolled in, blinding me completely. The truck's lights barely pierced the white wall. I could hear them shifting positions, circling me, whispering. Then something more terrifying appeared. Figures in the fog. Not in the trucks, but walking alongside the highway, pale, dripping, faces blurred. Their mouths opened, but no sound came out. Yet the whispers in my head intensified. "You cannot leave. Join us." I floored it again. The fog swallowed the road. Mile markers seemed to stretch endlessly, repeating, never changing. The convoy followed every move. My vision tunneled. Fear gripped me like a vice. I was completely alone, yet surrounded. Through the fog, I saw lights ahead. A gas station, dimly lit with no cars. Relief washed over me, but as I approached, something felt wrong. The pumps were rusted, the windows cracked, and inside, rows of empty shelves stretched into darkness. I stepped inside, only to see hundreds of photographs pinned to the walls. All were of drivers on the highway, terrified, eyes wide, all apparently vanished. I stumbled back outside. The convoy was gone. But in the mist, red eyes glimmered, watching. I realized I hadn't escaped. They were hiding, waiting. I jumped into my car, desperate to leave. The convoy reappeared instantly, now moving aggressively, swarming my vehicle. One truck slammed the side of my car, leaving a deep dent. Yet I could hear no metal scraping, only a chilling low hum vibrating in my chest. I swerved to avoid another truck, which seemed to vanish and reappear ahead simultaneously. The whispers grew louder, screaming directly in my mind, feeding off my terror. Every instinct told me to stop. Every instinct told me to run. I kept driving. The highway was no longer normal. It bent unnaturally, leading me in loops, keeping me trapped in the convoy's formation. I gripped the steering wheel, adrenaline flooding my veins. The highway seemed to stretch endlessly, twisting impossibly like a snake swallowing itself. Every exit I tried to take either looped me back or disappeared entirely. The convoy wasn't just following. It controlled the road. Each truck moved in perfect unison, headlights glowing red, creating a wall of light and shadows around me. Then I noticed the fog had thickened into a living darkness, moving independently, wrapping around the edges of my car, blocking my vision. I could hear whispers from all directions, hundreds of voices speaking at once. "You belong to the convoy." Panic clawed at my chest. My pulse raced as I realized there was no escape. Every mile I drove, the convoy adjusted, keeping me trapped in its nightmarish formation. Out of the fog, shapes began to emerge. Figures, drivers like me, stood alongside the highway. Their faces were pale, hollow, screaming silently. Some raised hands, pointing at me. Others slowly walked into the convoy trucks, vanishing without a sound. I realized with horror that the convoy was collecting souls, and anyone who slowed down or panicked became its next victim. One of the trucks split open, revealing a hollow interior filled with writhing shadows. A voice, mine or something that mimicked me, whispered, "You cannot leave. Join us." I slammed on the gas, desperate to escape. But the fog, the convoy, and the figures were all one entity, controlling the night itself. Ahead, I saw a tunnel, glowing faintly with red light. My instincts screamed to avoid it, but the highway looped again, forcing me inside. The interior was surreal. The walls pulsed, red lights reflecting off countless eyes hidden in the stone. The convoy followed, now fully surrounding me, moving without touching the road. From the darkness, whispers became screams. Hands appeared, reaching through the walls, clawing, grasping at my car. The steering wheel shook violently, as if an invisible force wanted control. I screamed, spinning the wheel, trying to escape. But the convoy was everywhere at once, surrounding the tunnel like an impenetrable cage. Through sheer luck or terror-driven instinct, I spotted a faint exit at the far end of the tunnel. I slammed the accelerator, tires squealing, every shadow and truck converging on me. The convoy screamed in unison, silent, horrifying, yet somehow inside my mind. The fog and red lights pressed against the windshield like a living entity. Then, the exit, daylight, real sky, opened ahead. I shot through, hitting the asphalt of a normal interstate. My car shook violently, as if the convoy released me reluctantly, a predator letting go of prey. I glanced back. The red lights, trucks, and figures were gone. The highway stretched normally, empty. My heart didn't calm. I knew they were still out there, waiting for the next night traveler. I drove for hours without looking back. When I finally reached Salt Lake City, I thought I had escaped. But every October since, I hear the hum of engines in my mind, see red lights at the edge of my vision, and feel a presence watching from the night. The convoy never forgets. It waits for the next traveler who dares the midnight roads. And I will never drive alone at night again. Because somewhere out there, the red lights are still moving, silent, eternal, hunting for another soul. As the night fades and the headlights disappear into the distance, we are reminded that the open road is not always empty, and solitude can be deadly. Tonight, we traveled with souls who encountered the unimaginable. Shadowy figures on deserted highways, haunted tunnels that feed on fear, black trucks that follow endlessly, and spectral convoys collecting those who wander too far. Each story was a reminder that some encounters are too real, too terrifying, and too close to home to ever be ignored. If there's one thing to take away, it's this. October nights can conceal horrors that no GPS, no radio, and no courage can prepare you for. So the next time you hit the road, watch your mirrors and never travel alone. Thank you for joining me and the Mr. Darknight family tonight. Your support helps us uncover these disturbing truths and bring them to life. Remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment if you've ever experienced something that made your own road trip unforgettable. Until next time, keep your lights on and your doors locked. Thanks for watching. This was Mr. Darknight.